the big message, which, it might be inspiring more than it's useful, is that no part of this was inevitable, right? And so it wasn't inevitable that this would come before the Supreme Court in 2015 and that the court would rule the way they did. I tell a story of a strategy meeting in 2005 in Jersey City where representatives of all of the major sort of LGBT political and legal groups come together to plot a national strategy. Some donors have put up money and they say, like, we're willing to back stuff, but we need to see a vision for how this is supposed to work. And they lay out what they acknowledge as a very optimistic plan for how you can win before the Supreme Court in 2025. So just the timing of that and the arc of that were not inevitable. But like, to go back to that story from the 1990s, it was not inevitable that this would be the issue that gay rights activists and big donors would get behind. It was not inevitable that this would be the issue that religious conservatives would elevate in the way they did. It was not inevitable that this was going to become, I think, the sort of defining social cultural debate of most of our lifetimes. And for people who care about social change, I think the lesson in that is this is something that goes from nowhere in our politics to before the Supreme Court with a national resolution with them saying that there's a fundamental right to this in the U.S. Constitution, right? And I think the lesson in that should be for people who care about social change is that, like, the issues that are in front of us, that are in front of our legislators or our politicians, the issues that we're reading about, that are being argued about in the media today, the questions that are before our courts today do not have to be the questions that we are talking about 5 or 10 years from now. There's a remarkable ability to change the issues that are in front of us and the choices that political and legal systems have. And, some part of this is not a useful roadmap because there's stuff that happened by accident and serendipity and not things that you can easily sort of reverse engineer for any cause. But I think that, some of this was just pushing the bounds of our political imagination. And I think part of the story is that, issues can come out of basically nowhere and all of a sudden, have a critical mass in a shockingly condensed period of time, right? It might have been crazy in the early 19th century to say women should be guaranteed the vote by the U.S. Constitution, but that was a 75-year arc from Seneca Falls to an amendment. This was happening in 25 years, and I think that should be inspiring to people who want to bring new issues into a conversation.